So 802.11n is the latest in series of wireless LAN standards for the IEEE. The first one that came along was 11b, which was defined in 2.4 gigahertz and had speeds up to about 11 megabits. After that, people wanted higher throughput. They defined 11a, which could go up to 54 megabits, but unfortunately that one was only defined in 5 gigahertz spectrum, which made it completely backwards incompatible with the installed base of 11b. So they addressed that problem with 11g, took the same technology from 11a of OFDM, ported it to 2.4 gigahertz, and had a speed bump as well as backwards compatibility. So that was wildly popular. Lots of those devices were sold. And the problem was that people wanted higher throughput. So 11n was defined. Now, something really smart with 11n is it was spec'd to work in both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So you had backwards compatibility with all these legacy devices. At the same time, you had all this unused 5 gigahertz spectrum available for you to make use of. So the thing that makes 11n really unique is its ability to work with multiple radios. And there's a number of different techniques that come into play with multiple radios, things like maximum ratio combining, cyclic delay diversity, spatial multiplexing, transmit beamforming. All these are different techniques either on the transmit side or the receive side to make use of multiple radios to increase the throughput. So nominally 11n can work up to about 300 megabits in the current generation of chipsets, but there's so many optional features that are spec'd into the spec that you can expect chipsets in the future to go up to about 600 megabits. One of the biggest problems that you have when integrating 11n is actually getting the full performance that you expect. These 11n systems are a lot more expensive than previous 11g systems, and presumably you're installing 11n because you have a need for high performance. Now the problem is, even though the high-end throughput of 11n systems is quite impressive on paper, 300 megabits or so, in reality you don't get that any sizable percentage of the time. In reality, spatial multiplexing, it contributes half of that performance. Channel bonding, 40 megahertz channelization contributes half of those performance. These are very speculative techniques. It would not be uncommon to have a quarter of that performance in real life if you have an unfortunate environment. And so really what you need is a system that is maximizing the percentage of time that you can use these techniques. If not, then 11n actually serves to increase the variability of the performance, which is in many environments unacceptable for many applications to have a highly variable performance. So what you need is a system that can adapt to the environment in real time. You want a system that can steer the antenna to maximize the likelihood of doing spatial multiplexing, or reject interference to maximize the likelihood that you can do 40 megahertz channelization. Another issue with 11n is that you have a lot of different PHY modes to work with. Previous 11g or A standards had 10 to 16 PHY modes that the AP had to pick from on a packet-by-packet basis, whereas with 11n, you actually have 100 different PHY modes that on every packet you have to make a decision as to which of these is going to be in use. It's like different gears in your car. The more gears you have, the more likely you can find one that's going to be exactly optimized for the speed you're going or the grade of the hill that you're trying to go up. So the AP has to select one of these PHY modes for every packet, and if it doesn't do a good job, you end up with either having very high error rates or leaving performance on the table, essentially transmitting at a lower rate than you effectively could have been, which would serve to reduce your overall network capacity. And so having a system that can adapt in real time to very rapidly changing situations and pick the optimal mode, the optimal RF parameters on a packet-by-packet basis becomes even more important.